Hello and welcome back to Slowly Stronger. I'm quite excited for this video because I'm about to introduce to you what is, in my opinion, the best novice strength program. To me, this program is ideal for people who are new to strength training or people who are coming back from a layoff. It's primarily based, I'll get into what the program is later on, but it is designed specifically for people who are new to the gym. I have a lot of misgivings with other um, novice programs out there. I believe that this program fixes all of them. It's not designed specifically around powerlifting. It's not designed specifically around any real sport. The hope is that once you've finished this program, you will be able to then go on to more advanced programming in almost any sport fairly easily. Now, there's going to be a few caveats to that. For instance, there are no Olympic lifts in this program, so if you wanted to go into Olympic lifting after this, you're going to have to learn the Olympic lifts. And I will talk a bit about how you can perhaps include Olympic lifts in this if you wanted to. Likewise, there's no log press or Atlas stones and things, so if you want to go into the strongman, you're going to have to learn those lifts. Now, the program itself, let's have a look at it. So, the program. This is a program. It's just a 1 week program that will just be repeated indefinitely until it stops working. I would suggest estimate it to be about 6 to 8 weeks long, maybe a little bit longer if you start a bit lighter. So it's based around 3 or 4 main lifts: the squat, the bench, the deadlift, and the pull-up, and the press, sorry. Five main lifts. Now, why these 5 main lifts? Because the vast majority of exercises you will do in almost any program post-novice will either be fairly easy to do, like a cable, it might be some form of cable exercise or a machine exercise, or they will be a dumbbell or barbell variation of one of these 5 main lifts. Not always, but the vast majority. So if you get these 5 lifts down with excellent form, you are well set for any future programming at all. So I place real emphasis on these 5 key lifts. I don't think they're necessarily completely magical lifts. For instance, I'm just going to talk about squatting. I'm going to be recommending probably a low bar squat, but there's nothing magical about that. There's nothing more magical about a low bar squat than a safety bar squat or a high bar squat or a front squat and such. It's more that it just prepares you as a novice lifter for future variations of those lifts. Now, in terms of the loading, let's look at each lift individually. So the squat is split into almost 2 separate workouts. So on day 1, you'll do 3 sets of 5. And the first time you do this, you're probably looking at the first set being an RP8. What do I mean by that? I mean you want to have about 2 reps left in the tank. Now, I'm not too concerned about you sticking to this RP8. Try to get a weight that you can have about 2 reps left in the tank after you. So you do 3 sets of 5, and you're hoping perhaps on the first set you'll have 2 reps left in the tank. That should be your starting weight. I'm not too concerned if you don't stay at RPE8. I would expect you will exceed it sometimes and perhaps do lifts which are easier than RPE8 as well. But the key thing is on a Monday, or sorry, I should say on day 1, you will squat 3 sets of 5. And on day 3, you will squat 3 sets of 5. And each time you squat those 3 sets of 5, you will add weight to the bar. 2.5 kilos or 5 pounds to the bar each time. So day 1, you might squat, let's say 100 pounds. Day 3, 105 pounds. You go back to day 1 again, 110, then 115, and so on and so forth. You are linearly progressing. There's nothing magical about this linear progression, but as a rank novice or someone coming back off a layoff, one of the biggest things is technique and skill. And by squatting heavy a few times a week, you will quickly gain the skill and technique needed to squat heavier. So your body will essentially adapt mainly via the skill and technique aspects of it, but also some elements around neurological adaptations. And as a result, you will be able to increase the weight in the bar almost 2 times a week for quite some time. Now on day 2, we have a lighter squat. So that's 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Now what do I mean by 10 to 12 reps? Well, you want your first set to be, again, about 8 RPE. So you do a set of 3 sets of 10. Your first set of 10, you'll hopefully have about 2 reps left in the tank. Now I recommend for progressing this, each week you add 1 rep, and then once you reach 12 reps, you knock it back down to 3 sets of 10, but increase the weight. So week 1, you may do 3 sets of 10 at 80 pounds. Week 2, 3 sets of 11 at 80 pounds. Week 3, 3 sets of 12 at 80 pounds. And then week 4, back down to 3 sets of 10, but perhaps you're doing 90 pounds. Perhaps you're doing 95 pounds. I sort of want you to try and judge it for yourself as to choosing a weight which is doable and you can progress. Because that's one of the main things about this program as well, is you learning about your own body. Now, with the bench press, you will do 3 sets of 5 on a Monday or a day 1. And again, your first set is 8 RPE or 2 reps left in the tank. And then on day 3, you will do 3 sets of 5 using 90% of the weight on Monday. Okay, so it's a bit lighter. But every day 1, every time you do day 1's workout, you will add 5 pounds to it. So week 1, you'll do, let's say, 80 pounds for 3 sets of 5. Week 2, 85 pounds for 3 sets of 5. Week 3, 90 pounds. Now, just 3 sets of 5 on day 1 and day 3 isn't really going to have much of an effect. In my experience, the bench press and the pressing movements, they can really take a lot more volume than the squatting and deadlifting. In fact, I found, generally speaking, the bench press can often take twice as much volume as the squat. So because of that, and the bench press actually needs that volume as well, I should add. It can be quite a volume-hungry lift. So because of that, on day 1, I also have, you're doing a dumbbell bench. On day 2, you're doing the overhead press. And on day 3, you're doing dips. Dips, I'm mainly prescribing vertical dips. So with a vertical dip bar where you're pushing yourself up. But if you can't do that, it can just be with your feet on the floor and your arms on a bench behind you. Now, the dumbbell bench and the dips are 3 sets of 8. The dips, you can try to add weight. You can do weighted dips, try to add 5 pounds each week. If you can't get 3 sets of 8, just go to failure and try to get as many as you can. The dumbbell bench, you're starting at 3 sets of 8. Each week, add a rep. And then once you've reached 3 sets of 12, you'll knock it back down to 3 sets of 8 and increasing the weight, just like we did with the squat. Except with the dumbbell bench, it's 8 to 12 reps, whereas the squat was 10 to 12. The overhead press, you're doing 5 sets of 3. And this is because I find we want some additional volume for your shoulder, for overhead pressing. But also, I've often found the press responds really quite well to lower reps. It can be quite a technical lift as well. And so the lower reps, slightly higher weight and things, I found can be quite useful. In terms of deadlifting, the main day will be on Wednesday, or day 2, I should say. So you're doing 1 set of 5, and then you're taking 10% off the bar and doing 2 more sets of 5. So you're essentially doing 2 back-off sets, slightly lighter weight. And this is because the deadlift can be quite challenging, particularly for novice lifters. The feel of tearing that off the floor can be very difficult for some people. And they can find it quite tiring. So therefore, I try to include 2 sets of deadlift, 2 back-off sets for the deadlift. Now, the deadlift does still need volume, just like any other lift. And because of that, I've got 3 sets of 8 to 12 Romanian deadlifts. So this is where you will set the bar up on a squat rack, you will walk out with it waist height, and you will essentially do a deadlift, but you will not allow it to touch the floor. You'll lower it until it's just hovering just above the floor, and then bring it back up. On day 3, you'll deadlift 3 sets of 8 till 10, and here you'll do 80% of day 2's lift. Okay, so let's say on day 2, your first set of 5, you do 100 pounds. Day 3, you'll do 80 pounds, and you'll do this for 3 sets of 8 till 10 reps. So, of course, with day 3, I'm not prescribing any progression to that. I'm not saying you have to increase the weight each week or so, because you'll always be doing 80% of day 2. And again, I'm saying 8 to 10 reps. For some people, that may just be 8 reps. For some people, it may be 10 reps, 3 sets of 10. Just try to get in roughly 8 to 10 reps. Now that's the bulk of the workout. The only other thing I haven't talked about is the pull-ups and chin-ups. So on day 1, we're doing pull-ups, day 2, chin-ups, day 3, pull-ups, and we're just doing 3 sets to failure of body weight. This is just to get some additional upper body work, upper back work, and some more pulling work as well. Now, day 1 and 3, I've supersetted pull-ups and dumbbell bench, and I've supersetted dips and pull-ups. You don't have to do them as a superset, but you can. And what I mean by a superset is open for interpretation. You can do a set of pull-ups straight away, followed by a dumbbell bench, rest a few minutes. Or you can do perhaps a set of pull-ups, rest 30 seconds, and then dumbbell bench, and rest 2 minutes. You can actually do pull-ups, rest 1 minute, dumbbell bench, rest 1 minute, pull-ups, rest 1 minute, and so on and so forth. Be flexible, be creative, figure out what works for you. The key thing about the Novice Program is we are trying to get you accustomed to lifting, trying to introduce you to new lifting schemes. Okay? So, basically, in summary, the squat, we're squatting heavy day 1 and 3, light on day 2. Deadlift, we're lifting heavy on day 2, lighter on day 1 and 3. Bench press, heavy on day 1, and then we've got some additional volume and work for the bench press on day 1, 2, and 3. And that's pretty much the entire program, really. Now, I've just got my website open here. If you scroll down, you will see 2 additional weeks you can do. You can start with the initial program, or you can do these 2 weeks as almost introductory weeks. So that is a definite option. Now, I should say, in terms of finding your starting weight, if you're not sure, just do let's say with a squat, just do a set of 5 and a squat. If it's easy and it's really an easy set, okay, add a bit of weight. Do another set of 5, still easy, add a bit of weight. And as soon as that bar starts to slow, you can perhaps stop there. I've said in terms of the loading, try to get a RPE of 8, so essentially have 2 reps in reserve, but you don't have to. You can just, for your first squat workout, just load up the bar and gradually increase it, doing sets of 5 until the bar starts to slow. It's not going to make too much difference. We are adding weight to the bar for all of the main lifts quite aggressively, actually. Really quite aggressively, so you will expect to increase in strength quite quickly. So even if you start lighter than an RPE 8, it doesn't make much difference. Within a couple of weeks, you'll be back to where you were. The only thing I will say is the bench and the overhead press probably will stall first. The press will almost certainly stall first, maybe closely followed by the bench press. If you need to, you can then just try to increase the weight on the bench press every fortnight, or you can go onto the Advanced Novice Program, which I will do a later video on. The deadlift, the squat, you should try and add 5 pounds every day 1 and 3. The deadlift, you can probably add quite a bit of weight at first. So if you do 100 pounds a day the first week, week 2, you might be looking at 110, 120 pounds. You'll be able to add quite a bit of weight. A lot of people find the deadlift is quite an easy lift to learn. So it's very easy to get into a familiar pattern with how you do the deadlift, and therefore a familiar pattern as to how you can. Well, therefore, because you're consistently doing this very similar form, you've almost able to master the form on day 1. You're able to improve the skill of the actual lifting very quickly, and you're able to make those neurological adaptations a lot quicker. So you're able to really drive that deadlift up, really quite aggressively load it. Okay. Now, on the website page, I have got some details. So with a squat, bench press and deadlift and such, and the other press and things, I've got some YouTube videos that teach you how to do the lifts. So if you want the form for the squat, just click on this video. They're not videos that I have made, and I want to be clear, there is no real correct form really for a lot of the lifts. If you ask anyone, any trainer, about how to do a squat, they will train you in a different way to any other trainer. So some of these, for instance, I've recommended Starting Strength, I've recommended other YouTube videos which I've seen. There's nothing magical about the form of each video. Each trainer will try to say that their program will try to say that their form is the correct form. Look, the bar's got to go almost in a straight line up and down, and it's got to be a sensible and safe lift. That's pretty much the key things about any of these lifts. So what I've done is I've put YouTube links to forms to exercise form which is easy to learn. It's easy to pick up. There's nothing magical about them. There's nothing fantastic. There's loads of different ways to perform these exercises. The main thing is that you choose one and just stick with it. There's no reason why you have to stick with it permanently. Stick with it for this program, next program, and learn a different form. Next program after that. Alter your form again if you want to. Mess around with it. Figure out what your body wants. But you can only figure out what your body wants after you've stuck with something for a good period of time. Now, as well as this, I wanted to perhaps look at how you can structure the week. So ideally, it should be run as something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Or it could perhaps be Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday or something. So day 1, rest. Day 2, rest. Day 3, rest, rest. Day 1. But it doesn't have to be. That might be optimal, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good. If you have to do back-to-back workouts, you have to do back-to-back workouts. There's nothing massively wrong with it. If you're having to do 3 workouts in a row back-to-back, that's when I might be a bit more worried that you're not going to be recovering. In which case you may have to make the 3rd workout a bit lighter, or I have got a 2-day novice program which you can look at as well. In terms of rest periods, I'd say 3 to 5 minutes between sets. Earlier on, you should be able to rest 2-3 minutes maybe, but as you start to increase the weight, you're looking at about 3 to 5 minutes rest. Don't let it exceed 5 minutes. We're not after you waiting for 10 minutes between sets. That just gets a bit ridiculous. Ultimately, you can do more sets in that time and get more of a response due to the increase in volume than you could by just waiting a little bit longer just to have that tiny bit more weight in the bar. And finally, I wanted to look at what happens if you miss a week or miss a workout. Now, if you miss a workout, let's say you missed Monday's day 1 workout, That's fine. Just do day one next time you're in the gym. So if you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I missed Monday. That's fine. Wednesday becomes day one then, and just do it that way. Or if you wanted to, I missed Monday. Okay, I'll come in on Tuesday for day one, and then I'll come in on Wednesday for day two, and it comes back to normal. Not the end of the world. You may just bear in mind, obviously, if you're doing back-to-back days, it may well affect the amount you can lift. It's not going to affect anything in the long run. Realistically, we want you to have enough volume, enough intensity in the relevant lifts over a period of time. That period of time being several months. So what happens in 1 week doesn't really make much difference. If you miss a week, then I recommend just redoing the week you've just done with the same weight you've just done. So week 3, you start off by squatting 100 pounds and then 105 pounds, and then you miss a week. Okay, so you go back and do week 3, you do another squat at 100 pounds, another squat at 105 pounds. If you miss 2 weeks, probably better off dropping the weights by a little bit. Even 50 pounds or so might be useful, but then you can more aggressively load. So let's say you were squatting 200 pounds, you missed 2 weeks, you might drop back to 160 pounds on day 1, but then day 2 you do 170. Day 1, 180, day 3, 190, and then suddenly you're back at 200. So don't be afraid of more aggressively loading it if you have a bit more time off. But that's pretty much the entire program then. As I said, to me, it's got... I don't want to edit it. I might have broken this, but I know what I'll do. Okay, let's ignore that then. Sorry about that, but to me, the program itself has got a lot of volume, a lot of intensity. It's got a good progression scheme. It introduces you to the main lifts. So if you notice the squats, you're doing about just under 10 sets a week, deadlift just under 10 sets. The bench press, you're doing more than that. But that's fine, the bench press can handle that. So it's got a lot more volume, it's got more of a long-term viable progression scheme. The reps, we're not just doing sets of 5, we're not just doing sets of 10, we are changing it up a bit. So you're doing enough sets and reps here to gain significant muscle mass. But also, I find if you're just doing sets of 5, when you then come to do a set of 8 or 10 or 12, you're just gassed out after that. It's really, really hard. So I try, including both is very useful. It gets you ready for far more sports. In terms of what results you should expect to be on this for about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe a bit longer if you are very skinny and you are gaining a lot of weight. But otherwise, expect about 6 to 8 weeks. Now, you're not going to be absolutely jacked and ripped and such after this program. If you're able to drag this program out for 3 months, you will probably look like someone who has lifted for 3 months. There is no magic pill, there is no magic program. Stick with it, get in the volume you need, get in the intensity you need in the exercises, and you'll be fine. The only other couple of things that's worth pointing out is arm work. There is no direct bicep work here. I don't think you really need it. If you wanted to, you could add it some bicep work to day 1 and 3. You've already got chin-ups on day 2. 3 sets on day 1, 3 sets on day 3. That will give you a total of just about 10 sets for your biceps per week, which is plenty initially. Again, if you wanted to, you could do them on its own. You could turn it into a giant set, so a superset of 3 different exercises. It's up to you. Triceps, I don't think you need additional work for, especially not at this stage. you've got a lot of benching, you've got the pressing and stuff, you've got the dips. They are all valid options. They will have a lot of tricep work. In terms of substituting exercises, I really recommend you keep squat, bench, deadlift there. And for the rest of the exercises, Romanian deadlifts, okay, you could do stiff leg deadlifts, you could do deficit deadlifts, you could do pause deadlifts. There are a lot of different options. Romanian deadlifts I quite like though for the higher rep schemes. Dumbbell bench press and dips and things you can substitute out for other things. It could be an incline bench, it could be a dumbbell incline bench, you could be doing weighted push-ups, you could be doing some sort of form of machine work. Try to avoid isolation work unless it is an isolation movement. So I haven't got any isolation movements here, so that's perhaps a null statement. In terms of the bench press on day 3, bench or variation I've wrote, that could be a normal bench press, it could be a pause bench or close grip bench press. You want something that more or less resembles a bench press though. But feel free to substitute exercises, but just try to keep the exercises the same for at least 3 or 4 weeks. But otherwise, that's it. That's the entire program. If you want to add conditioning, I've got a conditioning page, and I'm going to be introducing a conditioning video. Just add it on in. But otherwise, that's it. Let me know how you get on in the comments. I'd love to hear about your progress. But thank you for watching.